Good evening to you.
Hello.
Can I say, in the book, one of the most amazing statements that you've written, and I've had to write it out myself so that I can read it back to you,
Yes?
is, one thing you say, one thing is certain, I don't like being interviewed. I find a lack of empathy occurs and my brain seizes up like rusty machinery, which puts us in a very sorry situation at the moment.
Well, thanks for having me. I'll be honest. No, it's true, isn't it? I mean, I was once interviewed of all trite subjects. I mean, the fact that I was leaving the news reading scene, I mean, that's not terribly important, is it? But the late-night lineup said, come and talk about it. So I went on, and I thought, if Joan Bakewell intellectualises, I'm done for. Yeah. And she did, and I was. And I could not think of a word. You know, one of the things I said, a very interesting question, but I can't think of an answer. And it was like the clothes were stuck to the body. It's a horrible situation to be like this on the other side of that clipboard.
And your seat stuck to your chair, if you know what I mean.
Yes, quite. Yes.
Yeah. But when you read the news for those long years...
Actually, I didn't start reading the news till 1960. I used to be the announcer in the communal dinner jacket from 1957 to 1960. Actually, it was one dinner jacket with the tennis shorts underneath. And in my case, a peg in the back of the jacket, because the other fellows were bigger than I was.
And they had to pull you in?
Yes.
Do you mean you're not telling me there was only one dinner jacket in the whole of the BBC?
Well, there was in the lot I worked for, yes. Yes. Very strange.
What happened if you dropped your script and had to bend down and the world saw your peg?
Oh, well, the camera didn't get down that far. It couldn't. The camera was too old to actually tilt. That was it. That was at Lime Grove. Those were the days.
Were you ever tempted, Michael, when you were reading the news for those years, to skitter off and say something which humanised you more than the news might have done?
Well, I did, yes. I was the first, I think, to introduce the facetious payoff to the news bulletins. I mean, I would look at the last item in the news, and if there's anything one could lift and get a twinkle out of it, I used to do it. But obviously, if there wasn't, one didn't. It was a matter of taste. And then it caught on, and gradually, other people did it. And people used to rush up at a fete and say, one thing I love about Richard Baker is he always says something funny at the end. Why don't you try that? And I said, oh, well, one of these days, perhaps.
I will.
Would you like to ask me why I called the book Polly Wants a Zebra?
I was going to ask you that. That was about number six. But if you want to deal with that now...
I only mention it because...
I'd be happy for you to do that.
We haven't got a copy of it here, and I thought perhaps you don't know what it's called. And
I certainly do know what it's called. I read it on the train to Manchester yesterday and halfway on the train back today.
Well, most people get through it in 10 minutes. You must be a very slow reader.
It was no. It was a very fast train. Go on.
Yeah. No, ask me what you're going to ask me, and I'll get back to
that.
It's a nice cliffhanger. They'll sit there wondering.
All right, let's hold them. The book is called Polly Wants a Zebra, but we're not going to find out why it's called that till later. In the book called Polly Wants a Zebra, howsoever, you quote a piece from one of your school reports which says, and here again I've written it down to remember because I couldn't remember it off by heart, he possesses a certain maturity. Whether this is a superficial maturity or a mature superficiality remains to be seen. Now, I suspect that was written by a kind of smart schoolmaster who found that he had an epigram on the end of his pen. Has that epigram remained a weight round your neck, or is it dismissed now?
No, I just use it like I have now, because it doesn't mean a thing, does it?
Well,
as simple as that. No, it doesn't mean a thing. I don't possess any maturity. I haven't really grown up at all. I'm about the oldest teenager in the business, I think, really. In every way you care to mention.
How old are you?
How old am I now?
Yeah.
Well, it depends when this programme goes out. But at the time we're speaking, I am 41, pushing 42.
Right. And you don't bother about school reports or about... Do you bother about what people say about you in the newspapers?
Yes, I get very upset about that. It's all right to be able to pretend to throw it off.
Right.
But I can't. I get very affected by that when people publish things which aren't true simply for the sake of a bit of sensational writing. If it's accurate. This is the funny thing about journalists. I mean, if you tell me that your name is Russell Harty and you live at a certain address and I go across to the other side of the studio, I could repeat that information, but a journalist doesn't seem to be able to do that. Between the crossing of the studio, perhaps they're not interested. I think that's what the answer is. Then
and it's
the information is gone.
Yeah.
Strange.
Well, what is true, howsoever, and is well to your advantage, is that you have made your reputation and sustained it in an extremely fickle medium. I mean, the wheel of fortune changes very quickly in television, and one day you're in and the next day you're out. And you have been able to sort of ride with the wheel
I'll tell you why, I think possibly why that is. First of all, it took a very long time before anybody knew that I'd been on television.
Why?
Well, I don't have the kind of face that registers. I don't have a big nose, I don't have a moustache. Baggy eyes aren't really enough to register you. And people never got tired of seeing me because they never remembered having seen me before. In fact, I'd been on television for about a year, and somebody wrote in and said, why can't the BBC get some people with real faces instead of these bland kids? And I can't blame them, because, I mean, I looked at myself and I thought, yeah, it's about as interesting as a bunch of Edelweiss, really. And the face is beginning to acquire a few bags and things, but...
and lines of interest.
Something like that, yes.
Yeah. Maybe your lines of interest, which are there up at the side of your eyes, I detect, has something to do with the fact that you carry about the most monumental, most appalling weight of diseases that I've ever read about.
Is that right? Does it show?
No, it doesn't show. No, it doesn't show. But, I mean, you do suffer from vertigo, migraine, claustrophobia. Hold on a minute. A cluster of herpes, whatever that may mean. Lurid dreams. I mean, you really... I don't know how you... I do know why you're successful. It's because you're so worried about all these other things that you haven't time to devote to nervousness in the
Once
television.
a month I get very poorly. It's an extraordinary mixed-up lad, you're quite right. Yes, I can't explain it at all. No, it's psychosomatic. I mean, the first time I was given a job on television, I felt fine. I felt very excited. And that day, the day of the broadcast, a boil went right on the end of my nose. And it came out like this, and it throbbed and it glowed. And I went to the doctor, and he lanced it too early so that it simmered and erupted for another 6 months. But I looked like Carl Malden, which was a bit better than I looked at the time.
But what about vertigo? You really suffer from vertigo?
Yes, I do. I mean, when I was in the army, I became a parachutist to get over the fear of heights. It didn't work, so I was a masochist as well. You can add that to the list. It was an extraordinary experience. No, I do. When I am on a plane, really, if I used to anyway, when people lean to one side to look out of the window, I'd lean the other to balance the plane up. And if they walk down, I say, for Christ's sake, sit down, you put your feet through. Honestly, this worried me very much.
Now, Miss World. Let's talk a bit about Miss World, which will come as no big surprise to you. But many people have said, and keep on saying, and even would say it tonight, that it's a sort of outdated thing, and it's a rude thing, and it's something which ladies of merit and distinction should not be a part of, and nor should you standing at the front of it doing it. How do you answer that kind of criticism?
Well, I don't answer. I agree with everything anybody cares to say about the Miss World contest. I'll agree with, except with the banner that we had gay lib, we had women's lib, and all that lot of a year or so ago. In fact, we get them every year. And they held up this banner saying, it's time women were allowed to do what they want to do. Well, nobody actually lashes these girls to a camel and brings them over to this country. They all do it because they want to. They have a good time. Everyone knocks the stupid birds and all the rest of it. But if you go through the list of 50-odd, you will find there are perhaps 20 who are at university. Another couple might have their own businesses. I mean, the girl from India who won is now a doctor. So they're not all dumb brawls, vacuous cuties and that sort of thing. I play it for laughs. You may not have noticed that.
Yes,
not everyone does, I'm afraid. But that's how I've meant to do it. And I don't mind if it goes wrong, because there's nothing that delights the average viewer more than seeing someone make a fool of himself.
Absolutely.
And if that person is me, I'm delighted.
You're delighted. Do you get much time, however, beforehand to talk with them and find
Well,
out
we
things?
rehearse over 2 or 3 days. And I
Do
get
you live with them? I mean, spend
I stay
time.
fairly close for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And I get information from Mecca about each girl, and that information is completely wrong.
From Mecca?
Yes, quite. And I say, so you're a deep-sea diver? And they say no. And we take it from there. And they're all 5'11", which is a bit difficult when they've got the heels on and my voice gets muffled. But apart from that... I mean, it's very strange. I talked to a girl a few years ago and I said, you're the youngest in the competition. I said, this was behind the scenes. I said, you're 17. She said, yes. How old are you? And I said, well, I'm 37, old enough to be your brother. And she said, but, she said, you are not too old, you're still a lion who roars. But the nicest, if I may just give one more anecdote about that, was... Oh, no, I forget that one. I tell you about the bloke from...
Well, come on, no, let's have that one.
All right, well, yes. I mean, the people say, what about it? Do you ever, actually, no. The answer is no. They are thoroughly chaperoned, even when the thing is over. That's the saddest part, when people are having a drink and they say, come on, darling, back to the hotel. I mean, that is the chaperone, not the fellow who's... And the girls say, I'm 25 years old, I can do what I like. And they say, sorry, don't be difficult, back to the hotel. And that's it. So, these beautiful friendships are never developed. But... once, an extraordinary thing happened. I did actually take one of them out. I had a date. She stayed in London for a week. This is 1961, and we had a very nice time, but I haven't seen her since. ignored all the letters and...
Is that the end of the story?
No, but this one thing that did happen was the girl from Nigeria, in fact, came along, and I didn't have any details at all about this girl, and I said, can you tell me something about yourself? And she said, yes, come with me. So we went round the corner, and I said, which part of Nigeria are you from? And she said, I'm from the Midwest region, and I think you have a nice voice. And I said, oh, really? And so I took the details, and as we walked and joined the others, she suddenly spun round and went, "Ooh!" with her mouth. I mean, that was a kiss. And it was an amazing sensation. As I've said in the book, it was like being hit in the face by a bathroom plunger. Because I was wet from forehead to chin. And she said, give me a ring, one trio at the hotel. And I never did.
You didn't. And wait, after the undocking procedure, you didn't bother to follow that up. We've got to the conclusion of our interview without you or with you still withholding what the significance of your title of your book, Polly Wants a Zebra, or Zebra as you say, is.
Yes.
And it's your turn, Michael.
I had to call it something, and people said, why write it? I was very loath about this whole thing, because I remember somebody else writing a telly-autobiography years ago, and someone said, it isn't that it's badly written, but the question is, why should you think it worth writing? That was my own feeling, of course, and I'm defensive about the thing even before anyone's really read it. But the reason I called it that was because, what can you call the thing, for heaven's sake? I mean, so I remember my own private silly joke, which somebody once told me, my favourite, and it was, what do you get if you cross a lion with a parrot? And the answer is you get a bird that says, Polly wants a zebra. Now, this, I mean, by the wave of apathy that's coming from the audience, they obviously think it's funny as well. But I saw certain affinities between myself and a hybrid parrot, you know, a creature that's spraying out words in different directions without quite knowing what it is, and in some senses. And that seemed to be... And, of course, it makes people say, why call it that?